Hello, 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 and welcome to a p+log. Usually I start off my p+logs with a song because they just help me center myself for what I'm going to talk about, helps me stay on track. I know it's been a long time since I've posted a video, and I'm recording this on... Can you see that date? I hope you can, because I can't tell if you can. December 3rd of 2019. It's been a long time, folks. It's been a long time. I'm on my mom's laptop. It's been a long time since I've posted a video on YouTube, public. I mean, I've of course posted one recently in the last 2 weeks, but it's been a long time, and there's a reason behind that. Although the outcome was not anticipated to be what it was, I'm back on YouTube. I could explain why I sang what I sang. But I think when the video is just fully fleshed out, it'll make sense then. Maybe I'll have the means to make it look better than what I posted on Instagram, which was kind of just this concept clip. But yeah, it's Christian related, so if you were wondering, yeah, it's about God. I love God. And that kind of explains why I was away. I love God, and I wanted to know God, and I wanted to know who He is so that I could know what life He wanted for me, because I think what is mistaken for people who, like me, want to live a Christian life, they think that living a Christian life means living a good life according to them, but in reality, it means living a life that God has called you to, and it's hard to know what God has called you to do if you don't know who He is, so, because He's this, it's all theological at this point, so I'm going to stop talking. But, yeah, I wanted to share where I'm at with my plans, which, by the way, those plans have changed a lot. I know some people would say it's C word, the C word. I'm not going to say the C word, but it's what a lot of people think it is. But I would say it's the opposite. I would say that it was just clarity and really just shepherding spiritually with where I need to be. Because where I'm at now wasn't exactly where I started. I mean, I had all of these desires, but they weren't really put under one umbrella, which I feel would be really convenient in order to execute. But now I have a plan. You could say an A+ plan A+. You'll hear about that later. No, you'll hear about it in today's video. Let's just get into it. I'm going to show you some of what I was doing yesterday, just to give you some insight on what I was thinking about. I hope you can see it. These are some screenshots, instruction instructing versus teaching, and then I did mission statement versus vision statement. Then I was watching this lady talk about teaching portfolio. She said you need a binder, dividers and tabs, a face, and then page protectors, photographs, include more than you think you need, resume, cover letter, letters of rec, teaching certificate, evidence of test scores, evaluation forms, whole group strategies, just some stuff, assessment. So basically, portfolio stuff, y'all. Which I love how it's all plain here, and just to be counterculture, I'm going to make it all handmade and all pretty and cute. Else for something different. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was planning on doing some lesson plan samples based off of my list of P's, but then I realized, no, I love Fantastic Mr. Fox and Alice in Wonderland and Peter Pan. Let me just use those storybooks. Then, yeah, just a lot of education stuff. Common Core, history of Common Core, what is Common Core? And here I'm showing about Common Core, how there are a lot of critics to Common Core, and Roald Dahl, which is again about the Fox lesson plan idea, and just some of the other stuff I was watching, which were kids shows, from Barney to Little Einsteins, Wonder Pets, Backyardigans, just the theme songs because I like their songs. Lamb Chops, Play Along. Then I was looking up things about like Montessori method and philosophy, Waldorf philosophy and education or whatever, which is compared to Steiner. Then ultimately something that I posted on Instagram a long time ago, which is how I feel is the most natural way to teach people, because it's the natural way we learn. And I didn't mean to give it like that. The reason I was sharing all of that is to say that these ideas, they come from somewhere. Not that I just come up with them, but they come from being inspired from certain things, and being inspired from things from a long time ago, like this Instagram post about my idea of teaching, which is or self-assessment, because that what I posted there was the contrast of the self-assessment process, which is the KWL, which is what you already know, what you want to know, and what you've learned. I provided a contrast, which is what we see, what we connect, and what we do with what we know, what with what we've connected. So, yeah, I'm sharing this, not because I'm not, let me just say, I'm not scared of people stealing. I used to be concerned about that kind of thing. Like, I was really concerned about being original, and that's partially why I really needed the break. There was a lot of just time of being molded and shaped by God through people and through reading the Bible, and it was just, I needed that time. And now, from being someone who is scared of losing my original ideas, I'm actually wishing to share them with the world. But I will also mention, everything is sort of with a grain of salt, that there's this big factor of needing Christ, and even if people were to try to steal them, it's kind of like it won't be as effective, because the very first step is God, and that's the only reason why a lot of these plans would work. And I'm saying this now because I do strongly believe that everything that God has put on my heart will be successful, and not just for my sake. In fact, that's not why. I'm just a vessel, but for the sake of education, impacting those of the future and then the futures to come. So yeah, I've had this on my heart, to be an educator and to change education, and I want to share how it started. Um, I usually don't make p-logs where I have like a series, but this p-log is a little bit more linear because a lot of um, me figuring out what am I doing, which would have been a lot of like just a random ideas that really they've helped mold me. But like if I was to direct you to the p-log playlist, which I might include in the description, um, it might be there, but maybe not. uh, I don't really agree with everything in those p-logs the way I did then now, because there's a priority, there's a hierarchy to why those beliefs were there, and ultimately everything is that I want to serve God. I want to give something that is inspired by God or inspired by God in me, and that is what I wish to provide to the world through my service. So, what is that service? Well, for now, it's Plan A+, which will be a freelance education service where I'm available to either write up a lesson plan and teach it. I don't think I would like to write a lesson plan and have someone else teach it. I mean, they could, but it's like, I don't know. There's just a lot of awareness in those lesson plans that once again come from from being Christian, not from my experience. Like, again, one thing I learned while being away from YouTube is that it's not really about my experiences. It's just about that I learned the lesson and what that lesson was, and that it is something that edifies the kingdom, builds the kingdom, and something that glorifies God. So, if another Christian, like, I'm I'm getting a little big picture again, but if someone else was to join me in this agency of Plan A+, it would be necessary that they're Christian, and that's because for the greater vision I have, which is to change education, it is led by Christian educators and Christian people who put God first and are able to profess God's name. I want to provide an education service where Christians are allowed to speak on what they believe, as a way of serving their students better. And I emphasize that point because I think a lot of Christians have missed the point of their Christianity, of their journey to follow Christ and to be like Him, to think it is some sort of pedestal. And I'm not saying that because I'm immune, but I can say that I've witnessed and I've been a participant of being a privileged, braggy Christian, even if it's not in words, but just in the attitude and just the way I carry myself. So, yeah, Christianity, I want it to be a way that we teach, but not from this like pedestal. Like, if anything, we should be lower with our Christianity to serve better. It's the idea of Jesus serving. But again, we are stewards of this field. If you are to join education and join it with Jesus, so that you could either join it with me or join it with other people, but to do this with Christ in mind and in front of you and in front of the kids that you teach. I don't really know where I go when I talk like this, so I apologize if I lose my train of thought. When I do, because I do that a lot. But yeah, so what I was supposed to be working on today was my mission statement and my vision statement. Using these photos, oh, my hand looks so big when I go that way. Using these photos. It's Slam Shops Play Along. Forget about it. This computer's acting up. So the mission would be including words like instructing, teaching, mentoring, discipling, tutoring, just because it's Plan A+. It's more education centered. But of course, Christ entered in the middle of it all. Oh, and I didn't get to show you the logo, but it's okay. You'll see it later. This is not the episode for that, or the p+log for that. But what was it? The mission statement. I wanted to share my process. One way that I could help. Okay, so, sorry, I'm talking like this. There are a few things that I included when I was showing everything. So the Common Core I wanted to show just because I wanted to say that people have criticism about Common Core, and even though it's close to what I want to do, I don't totally agree with it because, again, it's without Christ. But just the idea that it is going for number sense, for instance, with Common Core math. The fact that it's trying to teach number sense rather than mathematic and rules or equations. I agree with that. That was something that Mathnasium was going for when I was there, and that was a really good idea because it allows the mind to do gymnastics essentially, and I love that. But yeah, people have criticisms. Also, the fact that Bill Gates funded for this. I wanted to share that there is a lot of potential. This is what my hope is. This is the vision. Is to create this curriculum that people could support and hopefully get it into public schools as a curriculum, because honestly, just building another school wouldn't be reaching enough people. But I would want schools that do receive that curriculum to get taught. It would be, in my heart, I want it to be free. But maybe I would only charge, it's the government. The government should be able to pay for this anyways, but for sure I would want, the instructors to come without having any worrying about finances, because this is something that can enrich them personally, spiritually, professionally, and I want to provide that for them at no cost, because in my heart, this is a ministry. This is my way of serving and doing God's work through education. But yeah, Common Core in the beginning had 60 million, so that's pretty powerful and just inspiring. Let's see, kind of close. So yeah, there are critics for Common Core, and it's because, okay, not all of it's perfect. Like reading, the reading is not as flexible. It's more about memorizing how to read like word chunks, which I don't really agree with either. Let's see. So Fantastic Mr. Fox, that's more about lesson plans, and that's something for another episode. Montessori method. So I'm saying all this so that we can pull out some keywords. And I can even share why I'm not wanting to go to a Montessori school or a Waldorf school. Schools that are different. They're alternative to standard K through 12, because their methods are more through play. They are student initiated. Like the kids are the ones to start this stuff, self-discovery, stuff like that, and it's good. But I want, and we're gonna read this stuff, and I'll get to share my agreements and stuff. Although I have made a p+log about this before, but again, I'm just trying to share my process, and I'm not trying to point out to Montessori is carefully prepared to allow the child to work independently and allow for the joy of self-discovery. Children grow academically in the Montessori environment. Montessori method of education developed by Maria Montessori is a child-centered educational approach based on scientific observations of children from birth to adulthood. By the way, fun fact, Google people were Montessori students. So pretty cool. And how they're like ruling the world. It is an approach that values the human spirit, the development of the whole child, physical, social, emotional, cognitive, or mental, I guess. It is a holistic approach emphasizing all aspects of development rather than attaining specific pieces of information. Miss Maria Montessori developed her education method based on a few main premises: respect for the child. Montessori believed that adults seldom truly respect children. Okay, sure, but yeah, holistic approach is another thing. Um, okay, this is a new one. Montessori is a method of education that is based on self-directed activity, hands-on learning, and collaborative play. In Montessori classrooms, children make creative choices in their learning, while the classroom and the highly trained teacher offer age-appropriate activities to guide the process. Okay. Um, Montessori early learning preparation for school and life, which I love. Because education should not be limited, and I will mention this. This was from a TED Talk, um, and I can link that. Again, I don't totally agree with everything. I mean, I do agree with a lot, but I feel like it's missing a piece. Anyways, they said that education was made almost like a child is part of an assembly line, and you just want them to pass the quality assurance by the minimum, but it's not like, it's like making cookie cutter students, like cookie cutter pieces of a car, and it's like every child is not the same car, sort of, you know. Anyways, school should not just prepare people for college like a cookie cutter, you know. Not everyone's going to be a college car. Everyone can be the best of whatever that is, but it's not all to be the same vehicle. So yeah, I like what they said there. So essential to the Montessori method is the Montessori curriculum, which is child-centered learning framework that incorporates holistic learning outcomes tailored to each individual child's developmental needs and interests. I also want to mention this. So, although I didn't know exactly what Montessori was before, I did appreciate a lot of their ideas just because I had a lot of time with my cousins in Maryland, and being there, I was actually inspired a lot about what kind of educational environment people can have, and it is more than just what's on paper. It is about life, and I have it on this notebook, but anyways, that's not important. What's important is it is so beautiful when education is about more than just the self, and that is something that can't really be taught through paper. I mean, it can be, but it's not like life changing. I mean, it's something that people can sort of fake. At least that's how I feel. But yeah, like stuff like being in groups, being in mixed groups, which is the long term, of course, for the school and for the curriculum and classroom setup, which Montessori also has. They call it mixed age, to allow for a teacher and who's only really a facilitator, and students to discuss and have some sort of, like, I don't know, way of explaining to each other because they get each other. Which reminds me of something. This happens. I wanted to mention how I want to make a show out of this, just as a way of displaying what e-education looks like. But basically, it is self-driven, and we'll give examples of it in the lesson plan mock-ups that I'll share. But yeah. Let me see, where am I? Okay. A Montessori education is unique in its profound respect for child's sincere desire. Oh yeah, I wanted to mention the example of my cousins, how they could be working on a project, and all I'm there really is to oversee. So there was the older one, and then the two ones that are really close in age, only like a few months apart. And I would really talk to the older one about, like if the older one would have the question, I would say to the older one, okay, this is what it is, and I would say explain to your friends, and then if it was another one, I would say the exact same thing, and I would say explain to your friends. It's this idea of I'm not telling you guys what to do, and y'all aren't telling each other what to do, but y'all are sharing good ideas with each other, because y'all want to work together smoothly. Like cooperation is a huge deal, and that is something that with self-led learning can be missed, because then it becomes really like independent, and independence can be a bad extreme in the same way that dependence can be a bad extreme. They're vices if they're extremes. So but yeah, in Montessori classrooms, children take the creative learning. Oh, I already read that. Let me continue reading. Now we're back. In its profound respect for a child's sincere desire to learn, and its recognition of his needs for independence, a balanced attention to intellectual, physical, emotional, and spiritual development is regarded as fundamental to their progress and enjoyment of learning. Yeah, I agree. Sensorial areas also, allows the child to explore the world through, and that is again true, and that is something I like to emphasize as a strength and a weakness when, again, you're by yourself. I have this picture that I've drawn, and I lost the notebook, so I can't show it now, but it's something that I've shown my dad, how knowledge really can be seen in so many different ways, and we have different lenses to look through. Like, we can look through the lens of math, we can look through the lens of art, we can look through the lens of crafting something, but it's knowledge all the same. But when we see all of them together, we do get a richer picture. It's like sort of when you get one picture versus when you get that picture here, picture here of the same object, then you see those 3D sort of rotations, which are really cool. It's that same idea with education, with knowledge, and that is something I want people to understand, that you get different, like a liberal arts education, they're trying to give you many lenses to the same issue, and that's how we really are supposed to be approaching things. And it's not to say that we ourselves have to hold all of that, but we need to be able to know that there are other people who may be a better expert. Maybe they'll have what I call the red shift, where they're more liberal arts minded, and then there are people who may be a blue shift, where they're more performance arts minded. So, but when you get together, there's a benefit, okay? There's also, I'm using these words because these are, it's the evaluation system that I would like to use in education, which is to indicate where people are on that chart, rather than just standalones, because once again, it's not standalone. You all get some sort of understanding. It's just, where do you have the strongest understanding? Where do you have the deepest, more experienced understanding of it? So, let me keep reading. I think it's on the kitchen on the table. Yeah.